Hello, welcome to today's Back to the City. I'm Simon Calder, and today I'm very excited to be joined by my good friend CB James. Welcome from the Common Practice.
Yes.
The Common Practice have a residency on Tuesdays in September at the 321 Club, and you've just put out a really wonderful video for the song Honey. Let's focus on you to begin with.
Okay.
Could you share a bit about how would you describe yourself as a musician, and what has your background been before leading this band?
Well, classical music, or rather the common practice era of music.
Common practice. And
Yeah.
what is the common practice era?
So considered to be from about 1600 to 1910. When people say classical music, this is the period of time they're typically referring to which envelops, the Baroque era, classical, romantic, all of those big composers that we know, Bach, Brahms, Beethoven.
So you have a background playing all of that music, and then it seems like an appropriate time to highlight. Of course, that became the name of the band.
Yeah.
How was the decision made for that to become the name of the band?
So, I'm not really sure when we actually decided that, but I started programming shows. I programmed a show for Kaylee that Kaylee just played solo over at the Dubliner.
Kaylee Factorial.
Yeah, Kaylee Factorial. And
another member of the band, of course.
yeah, key player, now guitar player. But yeah, he was doing this show at the Dubliner, and he and I both have this kind of tendency when we play shows, if we don't write things down and have an order, we're going to forget things, and we'll also sort of babble on stage, which is terrible.
It's good to have a structure.
So yeah, I did it, and I was like, I want to experiment by just printing out your set list in a program format, and audience members really liked it. And they were following along. I had one friend making notes after each song, and it became this really cool thing. And I was like, wow, that's a very common practice era sort of thing. And so
It's
thinking
common
about
practice.
it that way, pulling it from there, but then, it's interesting. The term common practice is interesting because it's like this blip in history. So for that to be called a common practice is a little bit of a misnomer, but
Yeah, it's so
because
interesting.
it's so isolated to one area of the world. Largely Bavaria and Germany and all of that, and really the perspective on this era is predominantly male, and definitely European.
Yes.
So
Very
yeah.
interesting.
So yeah, so my common practice is a little different
Yes.
than that common practice. But
The name seems to suggest confidence, exudes confidence that this is the way to do things.
right.
And the people who are doing the thing correctly, do it this way. So it's so interesting to being someone who is very adept and plays and can play within that, to be aware of the kind of ungrounded, unwarranted assumption that this is the way and this will always be the way.
Right.
And it's so interesting, I think, to name the band, to name your band that.
Yeah.
And there to be both continuity and some radical shifts away from some of the components of the common practice era. What would you say are some of the ways in which the band does things that would be quite unconventional, not common practice?
Not common practice.
Yes.
Well, I think all 7 of us have experience within common practice era music, and we've all deviated from it. So ways in which we deviate, I guess, it's hard to say. That's a difficult question, because I could say things like, oh, we have improvisation, but the Baroque era and classical era are full of improvisations, and these are things that are prevalent in there. But I guess tonally, harmonically, we do stray from, I guess, the rules, which aren't really rules, and that's, I don't know, that when we get into like, is music theory rules or is it language, and that debate. Yeah, but I guess just the diversity of thought within the group, it's incredibly egalitarian.
So that's a deviation.
That's a deviation. We don't defer to a single person. Everybody has kind of a leadership role in some way, and every single person takes care of an area of this group.
Yes. And so, for example, even though the songs that we're focusing on today are songs that you're the primary songwriter for, Kaylee also is the primary songwriter for other songs, and Andrew, at least, on keys, is also a songwriter and will be the primary songwriter for some of the Common Practice songs. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So just to kind of ground that, there are multiple songwriters.
There's multiple songwriters, and then actually on Honey, which we have the video for, Bryce is a contributing writer to that.
Yeah.
And he's our drummer.
How did that collaboration come to be, specifically with Honey?
So I wrote Honey, and like very, very shortly before we went into studio, it was a last-minute ad to our recording.
A recording of songs that will perhaps eventually be an LP?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe not in this iteration, but I haven't really made those decisions quite yet, or not fully anyway. But Honey was so conventional, and I don't really typically write things that are this sensible. And so I was a bit surprised. I mean, there are some secondary dominant chords in here, and things to make it, texturally interesting, and form-wise, we have varied length of phrases. It's not strictly 8-bar phrases, but I felt like it was way too conventional. And so I wanted an ending to it that would be really cool. And so I was having this concept meeting with everyone in the group, and Bryce, our drummer, came over, and I was like, I like this song a lot, but it's too conventional, and I want it to just kind of end in this bizarre way where it becomes less and less like music.
I love how that happens visually as well in the video.
Yes, I really like that about the video as well. And my son Ezra, contributed his ukulele to the video.
To the kind of descent.
To that scene.
Yes,
And Bryce is actually the one on the recording who played the lead guitar on the ending. The rest of the lead guitar is Kaylee, but on the ending, this strange animal that Bryce sort of tacked on the end of that. We had him just play the guitar, and it was great. He did a wonderful job.
And then in the video, Andrew asks, is this the end of the Common Practice? Tune in next week for the thrilling conclusion of the music show. How did that component work its way in? Was that when the video was being made, or?
This was in rehearsals. So we rehearse really, really religiously every Sunday.
Religiously on a Sunday?
Religiously on Sunday. From 7 to 9 p.m. And when Honey came in, we had finished this ending, and Andrew just did that in rehearsal one day. Is this the end of the common practice? And like, I thought it was hilarious, and I was like, please do that on the recording. That's so great, because to me, it sort of reads like a 1960s like superhero cartoon.
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh yay, it's like a cliffhanger for the Super Friends.
I like how like whimsical moments like that are woven in, and of course some other deviations include shark people and giant bananas and pink flamingos. I don't recall any of those being, core to the common practice era.
No. These are unconventional materials.
Yeah, and but this whimsical component seems to be important, and that's also in the weaving in of is this the end of Andrew's? Is this the end? Could you share a bit about the kind of intentional kind of inclusion of these kind of whimsical components, because it seems like an important part of the character of the band?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a good time.
Yes, yeah.
And I was thinking really hard about the video and how I wanted to visually represent us, and I didn't want it to be too serious because we take certain things really seriously. Obviously, like we score everything out. We have programs like.
And the lyrical content is quite serious.
And
too.
the lyrical content is so serious, but I like that that's juxtaposed with this really bouncy melody and these pink flamingos and giant bananas, which was another contribution of Bryce. Yeah, I just wanted it to be fun and sunny and happy, to juxtapose what was so kind of dark and serious and sad. I didn't want to double down on everything, and so much of what Honey is about is like a desire for happiness and a longing for happiness.
There is the recurring focus on goodness and grace for warm sunshine.
Yeah.
Amidst the darkness.
Yeah.
There is a yearning for that. And the lyric, with one lyric that sticks out to me, is a drink from reality. So there's this desire for kind of joy, and also to be grounded in and drinking from what's real.
Yeah.
Could you expand a bit more on the meaning of the song, perhaps starting with that kind of yearning for joy and for drinking from reality?
Yeah. So, I mean, how do I put this? I think there's a tendency to feel as though in our human experience that we are forced to be in situations that we don't have to be in, that where we do have choices, but it's hard to see that as a reality. And so I guess to be able to move away and choose, greener pastures, if that should be the case, and to do that, but to realize that you can do that is really difficult.
Yeah, getting out of your dodge is a lyric slightly earlier. So there is this, and this song, I feel like the song, rather than kind of highlighting them being, the attitude of the song isn't, well, obviously there could be this alternative. It's more kind of catching someone in the process of discerning and exploring the possibility of sailing across the sea to get somewhere different.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, I think so.
So we're in the deliberation process.
Yeah.
We are with the person as they're exploring the possibility and experiencing the reality of drinking from reality a bit.
And just kind of realizing like, oh wow, this situation has really gotten out of control, or it's become soured, and it's not good for me, it's not good for this other, it's not good for anyone to sit and be miserable, so why not take off?
Two words that jump out in the first verse are blame and shame. So, and these are very common. It's very common in the human experience there's so much shame in our culture and so much blaming. So I think that this song kind of does a good job of situating us in that cultural predicament, and then it's hopeful, I think, of reaching for something beyond that predicament, but through working through
Certainly.
the situation that we're in.
Absolutely. Actually made notes on that specifically.
Oh, I'd love. Please share your notes.
Essentially, it's this internal war, and struggling with the fear and shame that comes from like really intense failure, and being so afraid to try things that because you're so scared to fail. But yeah, moving into the chorus becomes more of a reawakening and a reclaiming of control there.
There's I think an attempt to have more control of one's consciousness. How would you describe the type of control? Because you use the word control.
Yeah.
The type of control that this song has an interest in increasing.
Self-control, personal responsibility.
Absolutely, yeah, that's my feeling, yeah.
And understanding that if you're in a position where you are the key person who is responsible for your happiness and for your productivity, you should take it. You should take that and stop staying in situations where you know you're miserable.
Yes. It's interesting for me that as that thread is first woven into the chorus, immediately before then we have, oh, I can't take it anymore, this isn't battle, this is war. You were talking about the war. So could we focus a little bit more on that lyric, that component of the song, and maybe in relation to the idea of surrender, because I think there's the type of control, the self-control, the self-responsibility that the song is advocating for, celebrating, seems to be, through this metaphor of war, kind of related to surrender in some way, but a surrender that isn't like a kind of giving up. You know, although the lyric is, I can't take it anymore, there's a kind of empowering, there's a difference, I think, between like declaring oneself like the loser of a war, that's surrender, and then like the surrender which leads to the experience of like crossing the sea and moving through into something more real. So, do you have any thoughts on these different types of surrender and transitioning to the chorus via acknowledging, no, this isn't just a battle, this is war?
Yeah, I guess. Well, it's been a raucous couple of years, and I think sometimes when we have, and I think globally we're all experiencing this, where we've had the most chaotic couple of years of our lives, but in chaos, it's hard to really realize how bad things are sometimes. And so I guess it's a bit of a surrender into the realization of just like how bad it's become. And sort of reclaiming that control to say, no, I can fix this, but I have to fundamentally change.
Right. Acceptance. Acceptance isn't like not caring.
Right.
Acceptance is not resisting what is, and then transformation becomes possible paradoxically through the lack of resistance to observing what is. I think is it the second verse ends with I don't understand. It doesn't make a difference to your fidgeting fine hands who embrace and interlace me ways that I don't understand. How does not understand?
But this entire verse, without getting like overly personal, but this entire verse is really about my husband, who is Kaylee Factorial, and we are public about that, and that's fine. But he's really, really paradoxical to me. He's so uncomplicated, and he's not impressed by money. He is not competitive in the traditional sense. He doesn't even compete with himself. Like, we always say, oh, just try to do better than you did before. And he's like, I'm not even gonna think in that way. Because he doesn't think in this linear pattern. And he's somebody who defines his success entirely by joy.
Wow, yes.
And
knowing Kaylee, of course, that rings true. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he is the most sunshiny person I have ever met in my life. And I've always been it's the thing I love about him the most is his commitment to joy.
Yes.
And he's just this incredibly like gentle person, and he's thoughtful and considerate, and so with kind of all the things that like I constantly internally battle with, and like, oh, I'm not good enough, and he's just like, no, it's great.
The goodness and the grace and the warm sunshine, I think.
Yeah, it's all Kaylee.
All connected to
that's all him. And I mean, the pink flamingos and giant bananas and like all of that, I wanted it to be really sweet, and I wanted it to have that component to it.
It's really interesting, the cocktail then of that kind of constancy, some of the like the whimsy, is all kind of connected to that too. That's the sunshine component there. And then there is this other component, which is yearning, kind of forward moving.
Yeah.
And I think that it's the combination of those two in this song and in general in the common practice. That's where kind of the magic lies. The fact that we can have the moment where it's just experience of it just feels like a war and I can't take it anymore. But then there is the pink flamingo. Alongside that.
I mean, Honey is it's very much about Kaylee and I as people. And yeah, I'm very forward moving and I'm very competitive, and I'm meticulous and picky and sometimes a bit melodramatic. And Kaylee is like whimsical and fun and maybe a little lackadaisical at times, but ultimately just a breath of fresh air all the time. And so our juxtaposition as people together actually works quite harmoniously.
Yes. I see that in general, and I love how that plays out in the music.
Yeah. So, and kind of co-leading this band with him in the egalitarian way that we do has been really fun, because we have never worked with this many people before.
Mm-hmm. We've mentioned most of the band members, but not all of them.
Yeah.
So you and Kaylee, Bryce on the drums, Andrew, and there's Liz as well.
Liz Cates.
Yeah. What does Ezra play at the end of the song?
He wanted to be representative of the ocean in the video. This was his idea. Actually, when I was going to get decorations for the video, which I got at Dollar Tree, he saw those shark sunglasses and was just like, oh, Mom, this is perfect. And the other thing about the video that I guess, really wanted to come across, I wanted it to be real in the sense of, like, you know, it's shot at my house where we actually practice. Like, and we're pretty much in position to we didn't do much setup. We didn't do much to the space to make it different.
Yes.
And Ezra's there at every rehearsal. And so he begged to be in the video. And at first I said no, and then he wrote out a list of reasons why he deserved to be in the video, and one of which was I'm at every rehearsal.
That's persuasive.
So I was like, that's true. You are at every rehearsal, and why not?
I've really enjoyed our dive into Honey today, and I'm looking forward to the residency at the 321 Club, Tuesdays in September. And who else do you have playing at the residency with you?
So we have Admiral Fox is going to be with us the first week. And then we have, the next week we have 2 artists that are going to join us. My friend Haley Ann with Kinder Dosage, and Roz with Paper Doll. I don't know if you know her.
Not well, but I very vaguely, and I'm excited. I have to.
She's really cool.
Yeah.
She's a really cool, wonderful vocalist. We have Ben Cook Feltz.
Oh, wonderful! Yes.
Is also going to be joining us on a residency night, and then the get together.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's going to be a really fun group of people.
Okay, Tuesday nights, every Tuesday at 321 Club in September.
Yeah, like 9-ish.
9-ish.
Yeah.
And there'll be programs.
There will be programs.
Yeah, come and get the programs at the 321 Club. I'll certainly be there for at least a couple of them.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. Thank you for joining me today for part 1 of I think many in the future Common Practice interviews. And yeah, come and join us, viewers, on Tuesdays in September at the 321 Club. I've been Simon Calder, this is CB James, celebrating the Common Practice.